Ladies and gentlemen, my guest at this time is the Poisoned Youth, Robert Martyr. Martyr, how you doing today, brother?
Good. Very sore, very tired, but ready to do this interview, like I say every time.
Absolutely, man. So, I first find out about you through GSW. That's how I've been privy to a whole mechacosm of talent. I'm like, all right, so who is this guy? And I start watching your stuff. I'm like, okay, it's really a lot of the catch as catch can style of wrestling and whatnot. We're gonna get into all of that, but just first off, so start getting into wrestling. Your grandma, she got you into it.
Yeah, that's funny that you know that, because usually most people don't research me. But yeah, my grandma got me into it. She was a tape trader back in the day.
What?
Yeah, my grandma tape traded with a lot of people in Mexico. So that's why, because she had homies down there, I guess. I don't know the story, but she tape traded. So there would be when I was a kid, my first people that I saw wrestling wasn't John Cena. It wasn't Randy Orton or Triple H or Undertaker or any of I didn't know what WWE was until I was 8 or 9. So my first knowledge of wrestling was Triple A or CMLL. That was what I thought wrestling was.
Real? Okay, that.
Yeah. So I didn't know what the fuck WWE was. I had no concept of what that was. But I knew who Rey Mysterio was because he was on AAA.
Yeah.
So I knew who Rey Mysterio was. Funny enough, when I saw Rey Mysterio as the world heavyweight champion, I was like, that's funny. There was a guy in Mexico named Rey Mysterio. That's pretty funny. But he was Rey Mysterio Jr. So I thought the dude was on TV was the son of I thought the dude on TV was the dad of who I saw in 1992 AAA. But yeah, my first wrestler I ever laid my eyes on was La Parka. That was the first wrestler I ever saw in my life. And my grandma had 1992 AAA tapes. It was, I remember the match. It was Lismark, La Parka, I want to say El Dandy versus Psychosis, Rey Mysterio, and Eddie Guerrero.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. That's how I knew who Eddie Guerrero was, because he was tagging with Art Barr as Los Gringos Locos. So that I didn't know what WWE was. So there would be tapes and I was like, man, I love that match. And then they'd be gone. And I'd be like, what happened to that match? It's like, in Spanish, I sold them. So okay. Yeah, though I would just have a different influx of tapes. And then when I got older, my cousin, my uncle, I consider him a cousin, but my uncle was a big ECW fan, a big indie wrestling fan. So when he stopped liking wrestling, he just gave me all of his ECW tapes, all of his Chikara tapes, all of his IWA Mid-South, CZW, Ring of Honor, all of that, everything. Just gave me all of it, and I just started watching it. So I know I was more familiar with Homicide than I was with John Cena growing up.
Okay, so you say you got Ring of Honor tapes. Was the Summer of Punk in there?
Here's the thing. So what I had every show from 2005, 100%. Okay. At every show from 2005, I had James Gibson versus Bryan Danielson when he won the title. It was sporadic. I'm pretty sure I must have had a couple Punk matches there, but I don't remember that exact moment where it was the start of Summer of Punk. But I remember him versus Roderick Strong. I remember him versus AJ Styles, where AJ Styles hit him with the Styles Clash from the middle rope and won. A bunch of Pure Rules matches, Nigel McGuinness, all those people. So I knew I was way more familiar with Ring of Honor. And then I was like, I stopped liking wrestling just for a little bit, and I was just flipping through the channels one day, and there it was, 2010 Superstars on Sci-Fi. Was it on Sci-Fi? I think it was on the CW or something like that.
One of those two, yeah.
I saw, Fit Finley and, Teddy Long was coming out every week and you going one-on-one with The Undertaker. And that's when Christian and Edge were popping as singles wrestlers. So Edge was on TV every week and Christian was on TV every week, and Randy Orton was RKOing people, and it was great. And I was like, oh shoot, that's the stuff that's on my my grandma's VHS tapes. So then I kept watching, and then they advertised SmackDown on Friday, and I was like, oh shoot, SmackDown, hell yeah, cool, I'll check SmackDown out. And that's how I got into WWE after that.
That's what's up, man. You basically did the opposite of what I've known people to do, or what I did. You know, you've discovered WWE as a kid on TV, and then as you get older, you know, YouTube's a thing, and you find the indies and
more things, yeah.
Yeah, but you just went like the old school way of tape trading and watching all these guys, and then you know you take a bit of a layoff and you come back and you're watching Randy and Taker and Edge and Christian and stuff like that. That's cool, man. I wish my grandma was a tape trader. That's awesome.
I don't know. I just knew she would die for Eddie Guerrero. I know that was like a real thing, that she would say, I would die for that man. I would die for Eddie Guerrero. And I'm like, bro, this Eddie Guerrero guy, he's an asshole. He's beating Rey Mysterio up on television on not on WWE, but on the AAA tapes. And I was like, dude, he's beating Rey Mysterio up. That sucks. So I had heard of WWE. I've seen it, but I didn't get into it until I was like way deep into everything else.
That's awesome, man. Dude. Hey, Eddie was great.
Phenomenal. One of my favorite matches. Well, funny enough, so I'm actually contradicting myself. One of the first matches I saw was Eddie Guerrero. It was Vengeance 2003. Eddie Guerrero versus Chris Benoit versus. No, it was Eddie Guerrero versus Chris Benoit. I'm done for the United States title. It was the first time it was ever being the new one, the one that we all know. Basically, it was the first time that it had ever been contested for the remake. And I remember the finish where Rhino comes out of nowhere. He looks like he's going to gore Eddie Guerrero, and he cores Chris Benoit, and then Eddie wins. But I remember that. I remember that whole pay-per-view. That's the only WWE I had seen at that point. Okay. But yeah, had an interesting way of finding out what wrestling was. It was weird. My mom hated it. My mom could not stand that.
Well, let's get into your mom's beliefs about wrestling. So you start training to become a professional wrestler at 14 years old. Yes. Obviously, your mother's like, no, you're a kid. You can't do that. You find a school. You say, hey, I'm going to write a letter. And if they allow me, will you do it? And I guess your mom thought they're not going to let you do this, but then they accept you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But you do your research. Damn. But yes. That's basically how it happened. My mom is a woman of her word. So she let me in the school, but she just could not believe, because, you know, I was a kid and I would be like, man, I want to be a wrestler. I want to be a wrestler. And she would be like, well, look, it says 18 or older. You can't do it. You can't be a wrestler till you're 18. So, you know, find something else. So, you know, as a kid, before that, I did boxing. So I did boxing because it runs through my family. It was kind of like the easy thing to do. And then when I started in high school, I thought, because Jim Ross would always say on commentary, like, remember, like when Jack Swagger first debuted, he was a tremendous amateur wrestler, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, okay, I'll just be an amateur wrestler and I'll just do it in high school and I'll go to the WWE. That's how I thought it would work. That's legit how I thought it was. So I was like, okay, so if I do amateur wrestling, I'll win like a championship and I'll get signed. That's how it worked. But no, that's not how it works. So I started doing amateur wrestling freshman year of high school. And that's also when I started doing pro wrestling. So I was doing amateur wrestling in high school and pro wrestling all at the same time.
Well, so on the guys on your wrestling team in high school, like what are their thoughts about you, you know, training to be a pro wrestler?
Most of them didn't know, except my buddy, bro. He knew, and he was just like, he's a wrestling fan. I don't know how much he is now. I haven't talked to him in a while, but like he was a wrestling fan at the time. You know, we were all marking out for CM Punk and stuff like that. And we were like, oh, did you see what CM Punk did to Rey Mysterio and all this stuff, you know? But I don't know. They were just like, why are you doing amateur wrestling? This stuff sucks. Just do that. And I was like, I'm already here. I can't just quit the team. So I just kept doing it, I guess.
That's what's up, man. So, I mean, did you take to it pretty quickly, the amateur wrestling?
I guess, yeah. At first, it was pretty easy, and then it got harder as I got older. But I think the biggest challenge was when I actually started doing matches, like at 15. That was like my first ever match, technically. I have two first ever matches. I have my first ever match in front of people, like just in general, technically, and then what I consider my first real match. But my first match in front of people was at 15, and that show was at 8, and then I had an amateur match that day at 2. So I was wrestling, I was winning in amateur competitions and then jobbing later in the night. And then, so that's yeah. I wouldn't say I took to it because I was good. I was really good, but I wasn't, I wasn't Kurt Angle level or anything like that, or a standout in amateur wrestling. But I think I was pretty decent at it.
You went to state, right?
I almost went to state.
Okay.
I didn't go to. I almost went to state. I went. So I had made it. This is junior year. Okay, sophomore year I had made it to semifinals, and I lost. And then junior year was probably my best year I ever had, and I made it to the finals of regionals in Florida. And I did I think we had like 15 seconds of the match, and I was so tired, and I thought I was winning, which I wasn't. I thought I was winning. So I did this really. We it's called a shot in amateur wrestling. I forgot you did amateur wrestling. I'm dumb.
Yeah.
Explaining to you like you don't know, but I took this just terrible shot, like way too far away. It was like it was almost like it was on the other side of the room. I took a shot for no reason,
Yeah.
and I blew out my hamstring. I just completely ripped it off.
Jesus Christ.
For my and I felt it, and I completed the shot, but I could not continue. So I got the 2. I just couldn't keep wrestling. I was literally limping. They reset us, and I was literally limping. I was the ref saw that and just called it off.
Oh
so
my.
he won. So I won. He won by forfeit.
Jesus Christ, that's crazy. I remember I was coaching a kid, and he took a shot just like you. He was too far away, completes it, but like I think he like popped something in his ankle, and like he was done for the rest of the season.
It sucked because it was the finals of regionals. The final. I would be done for my season at that point. I would be chilling, okay, until championships. And I was just so tired. I was like, I didn't even feel like getting close to him. So I just, no, I don't know why I took that shot. I question it till this day. I'm like, why did I do that? So I just did it, and I just felt my right hamstring just completely just blow out, and I was screaming in pain. I was really bad.
Jesus Christ. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And what sucks after that, after I pulled it, I don't know if I tore it off, but I pulled it really bad. I couldn't walk it was like, it felt like 300 Charlie horses at once. That's what it felt like. And I remember after I healed, immediately after that, I took a Hurricane Rana in training and then almost broke my neck. So I was out after that.
Oh man.
So I had just recovered from my hamstring problem, and then I got hurt again.
That's crazy. So let's get back to the training at 14 years old. So I mean,
Yeah.
I saw your family at Global Festival. They all seem very supportive of what you're doing. Was that always the case back then?
If I'm honest, no. They were just, my family is full of athletes, but none of like wrestling. All my cousins are boxers. I have people in volleyball, gymnastics, weightlifting, anything else but pro wrestling. So it was very just like, I don't know. Like you could be doing boxing like you were. I was pretty good at boxing too, but it's just mentally, if you're not in that 100%, you shouldn't be doing it. If you're not in boxing 100%, you're going to get hurt. And that's what I was doing. Like I was fighting, I was going into fights like, I don't want to do this. And I was just, I was messing myself up. So I stopped, and, they I wouldn't say they weren't supportive. They were just like, I don't know if this is it. I know you've been wanting to do this since you were a little kid, but like I was just working little indie shows. Now they saw me at, Global Syndicate Wrestling, and they were like, wow, you're really succeeding finally at this. So that was a cool moment that they got to see me like wrestle that long.
Absolutely, man. So
but yeah,
when you start wrestling, start training, first time you get in that ring, like what's going through your mind? Like, I'm here, I'm doing this.
I was scared. I was really scared. I was just like, when like the tour that I had of the school, they didn't let me get in the ring yet. They were just showing me, how training is and just letting me watch. And I just had this like gut feeling like, oh my God, this is real life. This is real. Oh my goodness. What am I doing here? Like, and I was boxing at that point. I was getting punched in the face. I knew how to fight, and I was scared of taking bumps. I was terrified. I was like, I couldn't believe this. And then the next day, I think for like a month, 2 months, I only did like private classes. So I didn't go into immediate training. I was one-on-one with the instructor.
Okay. I see.
Yeah. So I kind of got babied in, but eventually they put me into the main class.
Just let you go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, so at that young of an age, I mean, what kind of a toll does taking bumps on your body? What kind of a toll does that happen to your body? Such a young age.
Man, I'm gonna be honest. My body at that point was like, I was like a bungee, like a bungee cord. Like I couldn't get hurt. I would take it. Like this. I have never told anybody this in any podcast. So this is a first for you. All right. And first for only you. The first thing I ever did when I got into a professional wrestling ring was I climbed the top rope and I swanton myself. It's the first thing I ever did. I didn't shake anybody's hand. I didn't say thank you. I didn't swipe my feet on the ring. I literally climbed the top rope. No questions asked. Swanton myself. It was the first thing I ever did.
So
don't ask. It's just I always wanted. It was
yeah, I get it. But the owner of the school, like, what was his reaction like?
They were just like, they literally said, "Get the fuck down!" Like yelling at me. I was like, no, this is amazing. I just did a swanton bomb. Screw you guys. But as far at that point, I'm starting to feel it a little bit now, but I don't think that's because of the bumps of me starting early. I think that's just how hard I wrestle and like what I do in my matches that I really push myself. But like, I was like rubber back then. So I didn't really feel anything. All the bumps, nothing really ever hurt except like, when I would, sometimes wrestle with older guys and they just beat the shit out of me. So other than that, like it felt like rubber, but I'm sure, in like 3 years, it's going to catch up to me and be like, oh shoot, I've been taking bumps for 6 years and I'm 20, so, so it's like, but now it's as far as just in general, as far as the bumps and bruises, like, yeah, it really just comes with like how hard I've been wrestling recently, how consistently, and then how long, because I did that 20-minute match. And then that match with Jacob Fatu, like that's a toll in itself. But yeah, I still feel great. I haven't gotten hurt or injured in like 2 years. So that's really good. But yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. So when you're starting training, like, I mean, you were a small kid at 14, I would assume, right? Were you kind of like, oh, I'm gonna try to be Rey Mysterio Jr. or etc. Did you have any of those thoughts going through your mind?
I didn't exactly know what I wanted to be. I know, like, that was kind of projected on me at the time because I was 120 pounds soaking wet. So I understand. But that's not what I wanted to be. I was trained by Luchadors. I was trained by Ricardo Rodriguez. You may know him as the ring announcer for Alberto Del Rio.
Yes.
But he also was Chimera in Mexico, and Chikara, and he's wrestled Mystico and all those amazing luchadors. And then I was also trained by Mecha Wolf 450 known as Mr. 450 as well. He's, you know, fantastic luchador based out of Puerto Rico. You know, he was WWC champion and all that stuff. So I was trained the old school way of doing lucha, not American high flying. Like, if you notice, for all the super hardcore fans that might be watching this, if you notice, when in Mexico, they'll work the right side, whereas American wrestlers work the left side. It's very different. It's just that little detail is like a completely different world. But I was taught the right side, which is very untraditional. So I was taught legitimately old school Mexican lucha by, you know, Ricardo, and then later on by Mecha Wolf. So I know how to do all those things. That's what I was doing. I was doing the crazy arm drags. I was doing the springboards. I was doing the hurricane ranas and the head scissors and all that stuff. Literally, that was my style, until Jesus. I think he gave me a couple, might have been Chikara tapes, and I just discovered, like, it just reignited my my love for technical wrestling, because I remember I grew up watching Nigel McGuinness and Bryan Danielson, but again, I took that time off where I didn't watch it anymore. So I had kind of forgot like how good they were and how fun it was to watch those matches. And then I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And then I would go back to my grandmother's house and look at those tapes again. I'm like, oh my God, like, this is awesome. This is what I want to do. This is the style that I want to wrestle in. So yeah, like, to this day, I can do springboards. I can do basically anything you see a luchador do. I can still do it. I just don't.
Yeah, man, because people would assume like a person your size, all right, they're going to be doing all the flippy doos and all the high spots and whatnot, but you keep it very mat based, and you know, I respect that. I love that kind of wrestling, and it's starting to become more of a thing now. I guess.
Long time, man. Then it's been in a really long time. Like, I feel like the demand for legitimate professional wrestling is like coming back, you know? Like, there was a time like a year and a half, 2 years ago, it was all like a lot very character based. You know, a lot of like the big thing was like, you know, and I love Effie to death. Effie, Warhorse, Alley Cat, like all those types of characters, Danhausen, like that was the big thing, like big kooky characters. Now it's kind of coming back to like ground roots pro wrestling, which I love. But honestly, the best thing about this era is that there's flavors for everybody. Everybody gets what they want. If you want to watch character-based pro wrestling, you have that fix. If you want to watch legitimate technical wrestling, you have that fix. If you want to watch crazy, out of this world, you know, high-flying American wrestling, you have that alley too. If you want to watch lucha, you have that. You want to watch Japanese wrestling. It's so accessible now. Back then, we didn't have that. We just watched one thing, and that was, you know, the thing that we watched. But I would say I'm mat based. Obviously, I am a technical wrestler, but I don't want to box myself as that. I feel like I could wrestle anybody in the world and have an amazing match with them. Any style. That's what I pride myself on. I want to put my style against other people's, you know, and I think I get the best matches out of that.
Absolutely, man. So let me ask you this. So, I mean, you can do all the lucha stuff. So if there came a point in time when you're in there with a certain opponent, would you break some of that out to kind of throw them off?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, look, honestly, my mentality is this. There is already so much as far as the saturation of that style that people do it way better than I ever could, right? They do it. You have the Will Ospreys, you have the Ricochets. I can't do what they do. And if I can do it, I'm probably going to do it a lot less, you know, a lot less good than they do. So why even try? But if it came like, I want to go to Mexico, I want to wrestle in Mexico. If I'm going to do it. If I go to Mexico, I'm definitely going to bust some things out, but I'm also going to stay true to what gets me wins, you know? So yeah, we'll see. You'll see Robert Martyr pull out a moonsault one of these days. We'll see.
Hopefully I'm on the call for it. I'll be there. So, I mean, you've also trained with Daniel Garcia, Camp Red Death. What are some of the most important things that Garcia's taught you?
I think the biggest thing is aggression and just having a game plan before every match, and just genuinely just creativity on how to win. Because I think Dan is the MVP of independent wrestling right now. I don't think there's anybody doing it like him at the rate he's going. Like he wrestled 2 nights in the Scenic City Invitational, which is one of the most prestigious independent tournaments there is. Made it to the finals, lost. Then the next night, he wrestled Wheeler Yuta in an hour match for the independent wrestling title. 1 hour they wrestled in probably one of the hottest venues. I think the venue was like legitimately 100 degrees inside. 1 hour wrestling, and like he's a Limitless champion. He's the ESW champion. I know he's won a couple other belts, but he's decorated. So I think the biggest thing that I learned from him is just being ring smart. Like, know where your opponent is at all times. Understand the weakness and why that weakness works. And not necessarily, you'll see a lot of wrestlers target a body part and they'll specifically stay to that one body part. My psychology is destroy a body part to get to one. So that's what I tried to do with Jacob Fatu. He wrestled Fatu like a week before I did.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was at that match in San Francisco watching Garcia and Fatu.
Absolutely.
And then to see you wrestle him a week later in New Jersey, I'm like, okay, I can see the similarities. So, I mean, did you catch the match that Fatu had with Garcia? And then were you kind of like, all right, I'm gonna do this here and this there?
Yeah, I mean, I studied that match specifically the whole week leading up to my match, because Dan did a great job. He genuinely did a great job.
It was awesome.
Destroying Fatu's knee and his foot. He went like bananas on it. He literally worked so hard to take that out of his, I guess, use the moonsault and use as big as Jacob Fatu is, man, he can move, dude. That guy can go. He can move so quick. So taking that leg out, obviously it's probably the most cliche strategy, but it works. Meat and potatoes work sometimes, and he did a great job, but it wasn't enough. He moonsaulted him and got the win regardless, even with a hurt leg. So my thing was, okay, Dan didn't beat Jacob, but he exposed the weakness. So my goal was, let me expose the leg that worked, a week prior. It's still got to be hurting. And let me get to that arm. Because if he can't pop me up for his Samoan drop, then he can't beat me, in my opinion. And it worked almost. It almost worked. He popped me up and I landed on my feet and I kicked him in the head. But needless to say, Jacob Fatu's just different, man. It's almost like he's not human. He's like a machine, man. Like a legit. I literally did everything right and I still lost. And that's what I think was the most crushing thing about that match, is I did everything right. And look, man, I'm 20 years old. That guy is MLW world champion. I think me hanging with him the way I did, I can be proud of that match.
Absolutely, man. I rewatched it today, and it's good. It's very just good wrestling. The crowd was behind it. Guys, go check that out. Night 1 GSW Global Festival. It's on YouTube. Let's talk about your run in GSW so far. I mean, you've had a couple matches. You've done some voltage stuff that hasn't aired yet, so we can't really, talk about that. But what's the experience been like working with GSW?
Well, I really enjoy, Alex, Brandon, the whole crew. I love them. They have a very good idea of what they want. I think that with more eyes on them, they already have, the type of roster that any promotion would kill for. They got Davey Richards, Josh Alexander, Jacob Fatu, Gio Galvano, Masha Slamovitz, Deanna Perrazzo, Trisha Dora. They have, Jordan Blade. The list goes on and on, man. Travis Huckabee. I can literally go on about the roster that they got, man. It is literally impeccable. And it's always a pleasure to wrestle for them. And I feel like they're really one of the few promotions that genuinely want to build new talent. And that's why I put so much effort with them. Not to say that I don't put effort with other promotions, but I really put my heart into every GSW booking, because I know they see a future for me in that company, and they see a future for me in pro wrestling as a whole. So if they, they want to pull the trigger on big matches, then that's something that I want to be a part of. And look, they're proving it now. They have they just announced their joint show with Lucha Memes. Their pure ex Lucha show. And I have to believe, nothing's confirmed yet, but I have to believe that's something I might be on, and I'd love to be on, because as I just told you, my background is in Lucha, but I'm a pure wrestler. So, we'll see down the line. I've had some great matches. I've wrestled Yo-Yo in my first time at I think it was the first high voltage event. A couple voltage matches that haven't aired yet, but if Jacob Fatu's is coming out. It's already come out. It's on YouTube, so definitely check that out. But I have a lot of really some of my best work in high voltage.
It is. I was on the call for it, man. That stuff it's the real deal. It's legit. We really put over like the intensity on your face you were talking about. That's what Garcia really worked with you on. And yeah, man, if GSW had to book one match for you to have, I'd love to see you with Alexander Hammerstone.
Oh man, that would definitely be crazy. Hammerstone is wow. That's a match I never thought I'd have. For sure. Like right now, for me, as far as GSW dream matches, I wrestled Fatu, but like Davey Richards is number one for me right now. I think I have to wrestle. I have to wrestle Davey Richards before he goes away. I think that's one match that I need. Just for myself, because Davey Richards was such a big part of my journey in wrestling. Like, he was one of my favorite wrestlers in Ring of Honor. Like, legitimately one of him and Eddie Edwards in the early days, man, there wasn't a better tag team to me. So, besides the Motor City Machine Guns, which they've had great matches with, but like Davey Richards having those matches with a guy like Austin Aries that I would love to wrestle as well. That just Davey Richards is the embodiment of an era that's bygone, and he's bringing it back by coming back to pro wrestling. Honestly, I think GSW is going to have a very bright future if they just keep going the way they're going. I think with the amount of talent that they have and just their vision, GSW is going to get really big.
Absolutely, man. It's not even just the talent or the booking, the production.
The production is out of this world. It's TV level. It's TV level. Yeah. And what other promotion do you see on the independent scene? Even the biggest of promotions don't have the amount of like production quality that GSW does.
You're right, man. GSW, it's going to be a force to be reckoned with here in the near future. But another promotion that you've done some work for is PPW, Paradigm Pro Wrestling, and they like to use UWF rules. So now for anybody that doesn't know what UWF rules are, can you explain that?
So UWF rules, or UWFI, is I actually don't remember it. I think it's the Universal Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
And then the I is the international. But basically it's what we would call hybrid rules. There are no closed fists, strictly hands, palm strikes. Man, I know the rule set. It's just very hard to explain in like a timely manner, but essentially it's very MMA based. It's very grappling based. There's not much high flying. It's very specifically on the mat. It's more a more brutal style, in my opinion.
Yeah, you can win by submission, TKO, and points.
And points. Yeah, those are the only ways you can win. There's no pinfalls at all.
Being an amateur wrestler, that must really, fair for you. I'm sure you've won a couple matches by points.
Oh, I might have maybe one or two, but I've usually always won my matches via pin. But here's the thing, that you would think that's good, but for me as an amateur wrestler, it's bad. I can't pin them. I can't cradle them. It always has to be by submission. So, good thing, like that's why I've been getting into catch wrestling and things like that, and working on my submission game.
Okay. What's your favorite submission to use right now?
Right now, I would have to say my chicken wing, man. I love the chicken wing the crossface chicken wing. It's probably my favorite hold. just because it works a various amount of body parts. It's not only your trap, it's your neck, it's your shoulder, and then it's your arm and your elbow, and also you're getting choked. So it's pretty much like a 4-leaf clover as far as many things as it targets.
Yeah, man, that's old school. Not many people are doing that, especially the cross-face variation of it.
Yeah, like my favorite part is most people go under the chin. I like actually using my wrist bone and grinding their face in so I can turn their face.
Yeah, like in amateur wrestling when you're running a cross-face cradle right there, right on that nose.
Worst part. It's the worst part because it's on the nose because you feel like you have to sneeze, but you don't, and it hurts.
Yeah, I've never ran them. I've been put in them.
Yeah, it's weird. It feels weird because when you feel like your bones go across their face, it's just a weird feeling on your hands, but it's nasty. It's nasty, pretty.
It's effective. Robert, this has been a great conversation, man. Now it's time for the rapid part of the interview. So are you ready?
Absolutely.
Favorite wrestler of all time?
Oh, how can I answer that in 2 seconds? Damn.
You can think, man. Right. You can think. It's okay.
All right. I'll just say favorite wrestler I like watching right now. I'll put Harley Race. It's who I'll say Harley Race. As far as all time, he's probably like top 5 for me. So
okay, gonna bust out that Harley Race headbutt anytime soon?
Oh no. People not to do it. I'll take his word.
Yeah, be one of the ones that listens. Yes.
Yeah.
Favorite match of all time.
Favorite. Jesus Christ, man! These are the hardest questions to rapidly ask. I thought you were gonna ask me like, what's your favorite Warrior or something. Like, okay. Man, favorite match of all time. How do I even go about answering that? I can't even answer that. I'll just say, for right now, I'll say Homicide and Bryan Danielson at Final Battle. That's one I really, really enjoy and I highly regard. So I'll put that one there right now. That's not my favorite of all time, but it's the best thing I can think of on the fly.
Okay. But this one might be a little easier. Favorite finisher of all time.
Favorite finisher. You know what? You can never, ever, ever go wrong with a good burning hammer. So I'll pick that. Burning hammers.
There we go. Kenta Kobashi. I love it.
Yeah.
Favorite amateur wrestling match.
Amateur wrestling match. Damn. Oh man, I can't remember the other dude's name, but it's Jordan Burroughs in the 2011 Olympics.
Okay.
Was it not the Olympics. I'm sorry. It was. Oh, I don't remember. I think it had to be like nationals or whatever, but there's this Jordan Burroughs basically fakes a snap and he blast double the dude out of his shoes. Like he literally, his shoe comes off.
That's I remember that.
Blast doubled him. And there was like memes about it and stuff. It's hilarious. It's pretty funny. So I'll pick that one.
Okay. Favorite match you've had?
For right now, I'll say me versus Anthony Green.
Okay.
In Brooklyn, New York, for Industrial World Wrestling. We wrestled about 17 minutes, and now so far that's been my favorite match I've had.
All right. Favorite cheat day meal?
Pizza, always and every day.
Okay. What is it? Pepperoni or what are we doing?
I'll say it's either pepperoni or it's cheese with Parmesan on it.
Okay. Do you think pineapple goes on pizza?
I've actually had pineapple pizza, and I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty good. But it's still like a very odd concept that somebody was like, "Let me put some pineapple on." But I think it tastes good. I'll say that it tastes good. It
gives like a nice little sweet, savory taste to it. I mean, it complements the pepperoni, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Rob, man, this has been great. Let people know where they can find you.
You guys can find me on @TheStretcherRM on Twitter, and RM is the Stretcher, and then my name, so 2 R's and an M. And then you can find me on Instagram at Death2Martyr. 2 is TO, and yeah, that's basically all my platforms.
Awesome. Robert, thank you so much. Let the people know where they can see you next. What other bookings you got coming up?
So actually, just as we were having this podcast, I've been announced for the Ted Petty Invitational, IWA Mid-South, September 10th and September 11th. And I'm pretty sure I have more of that. I have Pro Wrestling Grind on November 13th. I have a couple other promotions that I'm currently working on locking in down, but you're going to see me a lot in the coming months. So keep it out for that.
There we go, man. We gotta get you out here to the Bay Area, man.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Trying to see
I've been Titus Alexander recently, so he's a dude I want to wrestle really bad.
Titus, Titus is the truth, man. He's been great out here recently. I want to see you versus him, you versus Starboy Charlie.
That'd be awesome. Like I'm trying to get my toes in the West Coast Pro, trying to see what's up.
Hey man, Scott's booking dream matches, man. He's got Suzuki coming out here next month.
Oh man, Suzuki versus Garcia. I messaged him as soon as it's announced, and he says he won't believe it's real until he gets in the ring.
Oh man, we got to get you out here though. Robert, thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.